Hi, I'm Dawn. Thank you for joining me and my kitty Geo, who likes to go for walks with me sometimes. This is a breakdown of part 6, Soul Bridge. And in this video, I'm going to go a little deeper concerning the soul. I'll start with all journeys are unique, and what I share are simply my own beliefs, so please just take what resonates with you. References made to feminine and masculine are not related to genders, but just energetic roles. Okay, so straight to it. I believe the soul is a fractal of God or spirit or the divine. And in lower dimensions, such as in the third dimension, it's more individualized. Some of the ways spirit experiences is through individualized souls. In our soul is the essence of yin yang or divine feminine and divine masculine energies. And I'll quickly mention some of those traits, but keep in mind when we are aligned with our soul, we are in balance with all of those energies. Though we tend to be stronger and more of one than the other sometimes, just depending on how it's needed. So, for the divine masculine, you're grounded, you're action oriented, present, loyal, confident, giving, protective. For the divine feminine, you're nurturing, intuitive, empathic. You can be receptive, secure, creative, fluid. And just a note, when you have soul recognition with your twin flame, I believe it occurs through divine planning and timing. I don't think it's because you're aligned with your soul. Those energies are out of balance when you're brought together at soul recognition. The soul is activated and you're out of balance. Energy actually repels each other. So, some of the wounded traits for what I call the masculine intern are being flighty, insecure, weak, impatient, indecisive. Some for the feminine intern are being anxious, insecure, jealous, fearful, controlling, and needy. These wounds occur to the physical in the physical, meaning mind, body, and emotions, and in the 3D, because our souls aren't wounded, we're just not aligned with them. Okay, with that being said, I'll bring that up again with what I'm about to discuss, but here is a list of what I consider to be key aspects of the soul. I have the soul in the middle, as I've called it the soul bridge in other videos, because it's the bridge for the spiritual and the physical. It's what links us, our physical nature to our spiritual essence. To me, that's what the soul does. And one of the biggest reasons why I'm passionate about sharing this again and again is because I hope to help others understand what I believe to be part of the so called twin flame path of a spiritual journey. And that is coming to spiritual union and physical union with our soul, which is also in another body. And while physical union isn't actually the goal, or it shouldn't be, our self love, our growth in self love, and essentially in reordering our lives to trust in our spiritual guidance and in the divine plan for our best life is what we're being led to attain. And that's one reason why the soul is here experiencing in the 3D to evolve the planet through not only higher vibrations, but awareness, which brings us to our soul's frequency. It's not here learning lessons, in my opinion. The soul doesn't need to learn, but simply experience and bring awareness. And I'll touch on that here in a moment. But okay, so here's the list to show how the physical and spiritual are meant to come together in balance. You can see on the left, I have listed what we associate with spiritual aspects, and on the right, the physical aspects. So I'll start with conscious. This is the feminine intern who is the more spiritual twin, the conscious one, or you can say aware. Now, they may not be that way before soul recognition, but once the soul is activated, both counterparts are awakened. That's my belief. Because I've journaled every single thing that I've gotten every day when I meditate, the little things that come in, I would write them down. And I could go back and look at things, and it just really helped me to put things together. But then also it got confirmed through my meditation. But okay, so as I said, I believe both counterparts are awakened, but I do believe it usually occurs a little more slowly for the masculine intern at first, because first both are awakened to the connection. There is a knowing that's there. Something you just know that there's something beyond normal with this other person. Then gradually, as the intense energy is doing its thing, and I won't get into that here, but everything is happening for a reason. Then awakening to the spiritual nature of the connection occurs, and then awakening to the journey itself. And again, this is just how it happened for me. So the conscious twin is aware of all of this, and I believe will become more aware as they ascend, because I've seen that in my own journey. So the subconscious twin is the masculine intern, and I say subconscious instead of unconscious because they're led through the initial intense energy, often called the runner chaser stage, but they're doing things from a less aware or unaware standing because they get a lot of subconscious direction, and I believe that happens through dreams especially. And I just realized it's funny how this happens, but I love it. I had gotten earlier on in my journey through some signs that he was having dreams of me. Um, but I've only had 3 dreams of him, and it's been a year since I met him. So each time my dreams were showing me something, though, something that was about to happen, and they did happen. And it was only afterwards that, of course, I was able to put it together. But I've wondered why I haven't had more dreams of him with the way he's in my thoughts and how I feel his presence all of the time. And just saying that now, that the masculine intern is the subconscious one, which is where dreams supposedly come from. I mean, it's the subconscious communicating with us. But that makes more sense to me that he would be the one to have more dreams. So it's the subconscious messages that likely guide the masculine intern or the MI for the most part until they come into awakening, or maybe more awakening more to the spiritual journey. And there may be lots of things that guide them subconsciously, but they're just not entirely aware of it being because of the connection. So I listed this, but I don't really think it needs much explaining. It's obviously, the ether being beyond the physical, while the matrix is material, it's physical, it's being more conditioned by society. So with the DF and DM, the divine feminine, divine masculine, they're well-known terms, often misused in my opinion, which is why I say FI or MI for feminine and masculine interns, because early on we are not in those divine energies. We're not aligned with soul. And to me, FI and MI represent each twin at any stage of the journey, whether they're awakened or not, in the matrix or spiritual or not so much. But the divine feminine, divine masculine traits I mentioned earlier are what we identify as essence of the soul. So observing is definitely spiritual. And you may have heard people say the soul is the observer. That's from spirit, and it's why spirit comes through the soul to experience in the physical, because the physical is experiencing, it's sensing. And you can see how all of this is coming together, right? It's so beautiful. It's incredible to me. Then there's meditating, and I'm a promoter of meditation, which I had done some of what I called meditation with tarot cards before I met my twin flame. And I had just done it to kind of help me look at things from a different perspective, to look deeper within. But I didn't give much thought to it when I heard that gentle voice telling me to meditate a few months after I met my twin flame. But now I do it every day, and I've gotten so much through it. It's helped me in so many ways. But then there's manifesting. And if you've watched my other videos, I've told this story, I think it was in part 6, how when I first started meditating, I heard my intuition tell me, you are a powerful meditator. He is a powerful manifester. And I was a little jealous, I'll admit. I didn't think that it was fair how I was supposedly the one accepting this and moving forward, and I'm the one taking time each day, trying to get out of my head, and he's manifesting. I started thinking he's driving a nice car, he's living it up in a luxurious home, but then sometime later, I heard that voice again, and I think it was a few months later, and it started the same way. It said, you are a powerful meditator. You are a powerful manifester. And I thought about it, how I had felt as though I had been getting aligned. I'm getting closer to it. Everything's just coming together. My creative flow has taken on a whole new energy. There's not even enough time for it. I have to stop myself each day to go to work, like stop what I'm doing, and it's annoying, but got to be done. But I'm becoming more spiritually aware, and I thought I actually have been manifesting more easily lately. And it's through meditation that we have more power to manifest. Okay, so heart and brain, I hope are obvious, but science is now learning that the heart is its own thinking center. And I believe it's the tool with which our soul expresses itself. The brain is to do with logic and emotions, and it's helpful, of course, with interactions in the physical. It's a tool as well. But as with all of this, when we're not aligned with our soul, the brain has too much control. And it's where fear comes from, and part of why we go through what we call the ego death. But I like to call it the ego check, because I've learned that, the ego gets out of control, but we just need to get it in check. We need our ego. So, moving on to the upper chakras and the lower chakras, you may have heard how the upper chakras are the more spiritual chakras and the lower are the physical. And they meet in the heart center, which is, I would like to mention, what is activated at soul recognition. This is where it's said that the twins meet in the heart chakra, the heart center. Because this is the expressive tool I was just talking about for the soul. So it just blows my mind how I had no idea about any of this less than a year ago. And it's such good stuff. And I'm so appreciative to have this with me now. So these last two should be clear. Intuition is more within the spiritual realm, where ego is clearly physical, like our brain. The ego can get out of control, but as we begin to align with our soul, we're bringing our ego and our intuition into balance with each other. All of this I've listed works together in balance. This is why it doesn't sit well with me when people say that this has nothing to do with the physical or your twin, that it's a spiritual journey, or that union is only spiritual and your twin was just a catalyst for your spiritual awakening and nothing more. I've heard all kinds of versions of that, but it's true. It is a spiritual journey, but it's taking place in the 3D. And I believe that's for a reason. I believe it's because it's meant to bring the physical and the spiritual into balance. I mean, to me, it's just so obvious. That's what the soul does. Why do we call it the soul? Why is it different from spirit? Because it's the bridge between the spiritual and the physical. Okay, so I have one last thing to show you, and that's what I've added to the list, which are the two physical bodies, which the soul bothered to incarnate into. Both. Both, I'd like to mention, have soul recognition. Both experience the intense energy. Both awaken. And when they're aligned with soul, they embody all of this shown here, all of it working together, all of it in union through the soul. And I've had to ask this before because it just, like I said, it didn't sit well with me. Why are they going through all of this if they're not to be a part of this? Makes sense, right? Okay, so it's through our shared soul that this happens. If you haven't watched part one, I highly recommend it. I share a vision that helped me get a grasp, helped my mind get a grasp on what that means. So, it's why I believe union is meant to be a part of this particular spiritual journey. And I'm not saying it's guaranteed to happen once you begin ascending or whatever, because I believe we do have free will, including your twin. And watch part 10 that discusses free will versus divine planning if you haven't already. But it's the shared soul that when you align body with spirit, it magnetizes itself in spiritually and da 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 da, you guessed it, physically. Okay, remember how I said the heart chakra is where the twins meet? It's where the lower chakras, the more physical, come together with the upper chakras, which are the more spiritual, and how the soul is expressed through the heart. Why we say following your heart is following your soul, like you hear follow your heart or follow your soul, when you're actually in your heart and not your emotions, which are often confused with heart and love. I'm talking about pure love, that unconditional love that comes from spirit. But when you're in that place, it's there. It's in all of that which I listed. It's in the heart. It's in our soul that we come together, the physical and the spiritual, That is union. Thank you for watching Soul Spark.